I've received some questions in my inbox asking me, Gwen, every time I have sex with my spouse, I actually bleed. And the questions are, what could that be? Why am I bleeding? Am I having my period, or does sex actually cause my period to come earlier than expected? So we dive in. I'm your favorite medical microbiologist, Gwendolyn Halle, and I'm popularly known as the medical professional with the difference. And I bring you knowledge on health, medicals, hygiene, business, farming, and a lot more. Let's slide in. Welcome back. Today we'll be talking about 13 causes of bleeding after sex. And we'll be touching a little bit on the treatment, on how you can treat this situation, post-coital bleeding. Now, some people experience bleeding after sex, and it could be because of 1 or 2 or 3 causes combined, or more combined. So as I go through these causes of bleeding after sex, please do note where you fall in and try to see how you can amend, on how we can solve the problem together. I would like to say this: if you're a lady and you're experiencing any form of discomfort or strange experiences or discharges or pain during sex, it is a call for concern. Please do not wait when it's time to have children, or when you get married. That's when you start to focus or care about your sexual health or your reproductive health, because this is very important. If you notice and look at my videos, I focus a lot on sexual health and reproductive health, because a woman's body is sacred, very fragile and sensitive. So the more knowledge we have about our bodies, the more we are able to take care of our bodies and prevent our bodies from actually having problems, diseases, and complications. Point number 1 on the causes of bleeding after sex is pelvic inflammatory disease, PID. Also known as sexually transmitted infections. In this case, we're talking about chlamydia. So if you watch my previous videos on chlamydia, chlamydia is one of the sexually transmitted infections that actually can be in a woman for 5 years, 10 years without her noticing, because the symptoms are not very loud in every woman, and it varies from one woman to another. So chlamydia actually leads to infertility. It actually moves from primary stage, secondary stage to tertiary stage, where infertility can occur. So this is one thing, and bleeding after sex is one main symptom of chlamydia. Pain during sex is one main symptom of chlamydia. The second point which I have written down is vaginal dryness. That is a reduced vaginal secretion that is during menopause. Women who are on menopause actually experience a lot of vaginal dryness. Another point on vaginal dryness is women who carrying out artificial vaginal tightening with alum and other concoctions. I did a video on artificial vaginal tightening, which I think you should use. You should look at. Because it has a lot of knowledge which will empower you as a woman, empower us as women. It is very rich in knowledge. And a lot of women are looking at alum, and I've seen another one like cloves. And a lot of women would use that, grind it, steep it in water, and then actually use a syringe. Some women use it and actually make sure that it touches the water of their vagina. What is very bad about this, or they actually try to stuff it in their vagina with their hands, the paste. What is very bad about it, the particles. And actually, the alum, other concoctions, and even cloves actually cause vaginal dryness. And during sex, it will cause vaginal tears. And these vaginal tears will actually cause bleeding after sex. Another cause on the 4th point is the damaged vagina after childbirth. Now, every lady or every woman would love to give birth through the vagina if there is no pain or little or no complications, or very few complications like tears and all that. Because we women we carry life in us, which is very beautiful. And the truth is, sometimes the baby you're carrying is very big. It's very big. Sometimes the head of the baby is too big. Sometimes the baby is just big, and your vagina has not stretched that much for the baby to pass by. And during that time, when the baby is passing by, during childbirth, you can actually have a tear in your vagina. And it would take some time to heal, but if it is really damaged, you will need to actually see your doctor, who may actually you may actually have some stitches in your vagina, or you may actually get a surgeon to look at you to really see how he can help you as a lady if you've got a lot of tears in your vagina. I'm not talking about the outer part of your vagina, that means your vulva. Sometimes sex during when the wounds have not yet healed, when the tears have not yet healed or have not yet been repaired, can actually lead to bleeding after sex or during sex. Now, the next point is if there's ovary damage. When the ovaries are present, the ovaries actually produce progesterone, and progesterone is that hormone that actually keeps prepares the vagina for childbirth. It prepares the endocrine walls. It's a great hormone until there's no fertilized egg and the progesterone drops and menstruation happens. Next point is childbirth and breastfeeding. During childbirth and breastfeeding, a woman's body is not the same. The prolactin hormone is then high because estrogen is really low. So, her appetite for sex, her libido is very low, and she has vaginal dryness. And if she has sex without any form of arousal or foreplay, she will experience vaginal dryness, which will lead to bleeding during or after sex. The next point is some medication, especially that alter estrogen, because estrogen is a very, very good hormone that helps in the body, preparing the body for sexual intercourse and for the child as well. So when this medication comes and alters estrogen, just know that you experience vaginal dryness and also bleeding during and after sex. The next point is chemicals and soaps used in the vagina by most women. A lot of women use a lot of strong scented soap and chemicals in your vagina. All these liquids which you find in the cosmetic shop, saying that it helps with the health of the vagina. Most of them cause vaginal dryness, and when you have vaginal dryness and you have sex, it will lead to a bleeding during and after sex. The next point is douching. A lot of women who wash their vaginas, who actually send soap, detergents, and water while they bathe into their vagina and try to wash, will lead to vaginal dryness, and actually you will experience tears and bleeding during and after sex. The next point is sex without any form of foreplay or arousal, without stimulating your wife sexually so that she can actually get wet, And when she doesn't get wet, anytime you're trying to have sex with her, there will be this vaginal dryness and the bleeding after sex. This is very, very common with ladies who have been raped. A lot of them bleed after sex. The next point is cervical or endometrial growth, and that could be a polyp is a growth, a non-cancerous growth. It could be a fibroid, it could be a polyp, which are non-cancerous growths, which grow in the uterus, which grow in the cervix and all that. That can also cause bleeding after sex. The next point is cervical erosion and inflammation around the area of the cervix. That could cause bleeding after sex. And the last point is endometriosis. This is when the lining, the endometrium wall, or the endometrium lining, or the lining of the uterus, which is supposed to remain in the uterus, goes outside the uterus and begins to grow on the fallopian tube and on the ovaries. Now, this could cause bleeding after sex. We're now going to go into the treatments. How can you treat this? Now, a lot of the points I have mentioned that has to do with dryness can be sorted out on a personal level, or on an individual level. If you have sex without arousal, if you're man and you have sex with your wife without arousing her, spend time to arouse her, to touch her, to please her sexually for foreplay. And if you're a woman, actually educate your husband on this. This is very important knowledge. And if you use a lot of chemicals, alum, concoctions, if you douche, if you use a lot of chemicals and soaps in your vagina that lead to vaginal dryness, please stop it. And vaginal dryness actually reduces satisfaction and pleasure during sexual intercourse with your partner. So that is, stop it. And if you, I know that people will be thinking that they could actually get a gel. Actually, gel, they can use gel, but it's not the same as your body fluid. No matter how much people try to produce things that are similar to our body fluid, it's not the same. This gel that are being used during sex to actually lubricate, lubricants that are used during sex, it's not the same as your body fluid. It's not the same, and it doesn't really give pleasure, because when that pleasure comes in or is present, there's also a warmth and also a connection during sex between a man and a woman, especially if they are married. Now, the other points I have mentioned that don't have to do with dryness, cervical erosion, cervical polyps or growth, endometriosis. It's good that pelvic inflammatory diseases, it's good you see your GP, your gynae, so that these things can be sorted out. Please, ladies, do not wait until when you want to have a growing family or start a family before you start being sensitive about your sexual health or reproductive health. These are things you should look at. Please look at. And if you are a woman who hasn't started having sex before marriage, who was not involved in sex before marriage, or you were having sex before marriage and you stopped, and then you kept yourself for your spouse, and let me say you wouldn't understand all of these things I'm explaining, vaginal dryness, all through the times when you're waiting to get married, do make sure you go for your regular checkups. Not being sexually active does not mean that you shouldn't be bothered about your sexual health or about your reproductive health. If you're a woman and you're not sexually active, you're keeping yourself for your spouse, you still have to look about things that concern your reproductive and your sexual health, even though you're not sexually active, because you're trying to reduce any form of complication that may evolve or grow to a third degree or tertiary state that will cause a lot of complications and will have you spend a lot of money that you could have spent on something else. Don't forget to like, subscribe, because it increases visibility of the video so other women can be empowered, can have this knowledge and could understand their bodies more. Remember, we rise by lifting others. If you've gotten this information and it has benefited you, do like and comment and subscribe so that the visibility of this video can go worldwide.